Tom Jones, known for his powerful voice and charismatic stage presence, faced a turning point in his career after a performance that left many in shock. This wasn't just any performance, and it didn't just stir up mild reactions, it was a moment that changed the way people viewed him at that time. The performance led to him being booed off the stage. For someone who had enjoyed immense fame and admiration, this was an unexpected and dramatic turn of events. What exactly happened though? Why did this performance cause such an uproar? This question leaves you wondering, especially since Tom Jones was someone who up until that point had been largely admired for his stage charisma and powerful singing. How could a single event shift the perception of such an iconic performer? The event didn't happen in a vacuum. There were factors at play that set the stage for this controversy. It was a time when the expectations of performers were high, and the audience, ever-changing, demanded perfection. Tom Jones had built a reputation of being able to engage his crowd, hold their attention, and deliver outstanding performances every time. So what went wrong on that particular night? What was it about this stage performance that made people boo him instead of cheering him on as they usually did? The crowd that night had certain expectations. They were there to see a familiar face, hear the songs they loved, and experience the energy that Tom Jones was known to bring. What they didn't expect was something that would shake their trust in the performer. The performance, instead of being one that added to his legacy, ended up being the one that caused them to question his choices. What made it controversial? Was it a choice of song that didn't resonate with the audience, or was there something more about Tom's approach that night that felt off? The fact that the performance was controversial left many people with a lot of questions. Some of these questions were aimed at Tom Jones's own behavior, while others centered around the event itself, trying to pinpoint exactly what went wrong. Many people in the audience had witnessed Tom Jones's ability to command the stage. They knew what he was capable of, and they expected nothing less than excellence. So when things took a sudden turn and boos started echoing through the venue, it was a clear sign that something had gone awry. How did Tom react to this unexpected response? Was he thrown off by the crowd's reaction, or did he try to push through and continue despite the growing tension? The real question was whether he was able to salvage the performance after the backlash began. Could he recover from this shock, or was it too late for that particular performance to be saved? What makes this story even more intriguing is the fact that this wasn't just any ordinary slip-up. For a celebrity like Tom Jones, known for his decades-long career and a string of successful performances, a moment like this could have been catastrophic. It left fans wondering whether this was the end of his glory days, or just a bump in the road that he could bounce back from. The reality of the situation was that Tom's reaction to the boos would go a long way in determining how he would be remembered after the event. Would he learn from it? Could he use this negative experience to fuel his future performances, turning a setback into a comeback? The aftermath of the incident is equally interesting. How did Tom Jones cope with the backlash? Was he upset, or did he brush it off? The way he handled the situation would shape the narrative surrounding the performance for years to come. It was one of those moments in his career where people were left wondering whether he would rise above the criticism or be forever defined by it. It was also a moment that tested his resilience and ability to maintain his status in an industry that often moves on quickly from scandals or mishaps. The public's perception of Tom Jones might have shifted that night, but the question remained, could he regain their trust and admiration? It is also important to note that this wasn't just an isolated incident. For Tom Jones, this controversy was part of a much larger picture. His career was built on constant reinvention and adapting to the ever-changing music scene. He wasn't just a singer, he was a performer, an entertainer who knew how to hold a crowd's attention. But like all artists, there are moments when even the most talented ones stumble. This particular performance became a defining moment in Tom's journey, reminding fans that even the greats are human and capable of mistakes. In the long run, how much did this event affect Tom Jones's career? While some might have viewed the incident as a blemish, others saw it as a part of his story. Every artist has moments of controversy, and the real test is how they bounce back. Tom Jones faced that test, and in many ways came out of it stronger. What the public didn't see behind the scenes were the lessons he learned from this experience and how he used it to improve his future performances. The booing didn't define his career, it was just a brief chapter in a much larger book. In the end, Tom Jones's ability to keep moving forward, despite the backlash from this performance, speaks to his resilience. Rather than allowing this moment to define him negatively, he showed the world that even in the face of adversity, he could still stand tall. The performance may have been controversial, but it was also a reminder that no artist is immune to mistakes. What mattered most was how they handled the aftermath and the lessons they took from it. For Tom Jones, that moment became a footnote in a career that continued to thrive, showing that even the greatest performers can have off nights but still go on to leave a lasting impact. The word "after" in the phrase "Tom Jones faces backlash after controversial stage performance" might seem simple at first, but it carries a lot of weight. It's not just a word, it's a turning point in a story. It signals a moment of change, a shift in how things were before and how they became afterward. What happened after that controversial stage performance? This is where the real curiosity begins. After the incident, everything started to look different. Fans, critics, and even Tom himself had to deal with what came next. The drama that followed the performance is just as important as the performance itself. The backlash didn't just disappear with the final note of that song. Instead, it lingered, affecting not just Tom's career but also his relationship with his audience. What did the world see after that fateful night? How did things unfold once the boos died down? When we think of after, we're really talking about the consequences. Tom Jones wasn't just booed off the stage, and then everything went back to normal. The word "after" signals the start of a new chapter. So what did that chapter look like? For Tom, it was a period of reflection and possibly even confusion. It was a time where he had to figure out how to move forward. This wasn't just a minor mishap, it was a major moment in his career. So how did the public react afterward? What did people say about the incident once the lights went down and the crowd left the venue? The curiosity surrounding Tom's response and the public's reaction is what makes this part of the story so intriguing. At first, the boos may have felt like an isolated incident, something that would blow over in time. But as days passed, it became clear that the incident had more lasting effects. The media picked up the story, and fans began discussing it. The questions started flooding in. Why did the crowd turn on Tom Jones? Was this a one-time thing, or was something deeper happening? Was there a shift in how people saw him? The aftermath became a topic of constant discussion. The curiosity about what happened after the performance only grew stronger. The incident wasn't just an embarrassing moment for Tom, it was a public spectacle. It became part of the conversation. People were no longer just talking about the performance itself, but about the events that followed. Did Tom apologize? Did he try to make things right with his fans? Did he brush it off as just another bad night? The curiosity about what happened after the performance was not limited to just the public. Tom himself had to come to terms with what had happened. He had spent years building a reputation as a powerful performer, but in a matter of moments, that reputation was challenged. What was going through his mind when he walked off that stage? Did he feel embarrassed, or did he try to push the negativity aside? It's hard to imagine that someone as seasoned as Tom Jones wouldn't be affected by such an event. Even though he had faced challenges in the past, this was different. The fans had spoken loudly, and the consequences of that night couldn't be ignored. Afterward, the questions were relentless. How would Tom Jones recover from such a setback? Would he be able to bounce back from this and restore his image? The people who had cheered for him in the past were now part of the crowd booing him off the stage. How did he deal with the hurt of that reaction? It wasn't just about his performance, it was about the connection he had with his audience. That connection had been shaken, and now he had to rebuild it. The public too was curious about what Tom would do next. Would he change his approach to performances? Would he try to reinvent himself in some way? People wanted to know how he would handle this. The after was filled with uncertainty, and that made it even more compelling. What happened in the days and weeks following the incident was critical. Did Tom release a statement? Did he address the situation in interviews? Did he acknowledge what had happened or stay silent about it? Fans wanted to hear from him to understand what went wrong and whether he was willing to confront the backlash. The media too played a role in shaping the story. News outlets reported on the incident, and critics weighed in on what they believed had gone wrong. The aftermath became a part of the larger narrative about Tom Jones's career. People wondered if this event would become a defining moment for him, one that he couldn't move past. The curiosity about what happened next was ever present. Would this be the start of a downward spiral, or would Tom Jones rise above it? But it wasn't just about what the public thought. Tom Jones himself had to decide how to move forward. The word "after" marked a moment of change. He had to decide whether this incident would break him, or whether it would be something he could overcome. In some ways, the performance might have been a test, one that he had to pass if he wanted to maintain his status in the industry. But it was more than just a test of his talent. It was a test of his character. How would he respond to the situation? How would he prove that he was still the same Tom Jones that people had loved for so many years? There's a certain amount of resilience that comes with being a public figure, and Tom Jones had shown that time and time again. But this was a new kind of challenge. He had to navigate the aftermath of something much more personal and visible than he had probably anticipated. It was a test of not only his professional ability, but his personal strength. The curiosity about how he would handle the aftermath wasn't just about the public's reaction, it was about Tom Jones's own response. Would he be able to put the incident behind him, or would it become a weight he couldn't shake off? The after wasn't just about the next performance. It was about Tom's journey as an artist and a person. How would he evolve after such a public setback? Could he learn from it, or would it haunt him? The next steps after this controversial performance would determine how he would be remembered. The curiosity surrounding Tom Jones's next move made the after even more important than the performance itself. The drama wasn't over when the boos stopped, it was just beginning. How he handled what came next would define his legacy. Fans and critics alike were eager to see how Tom Jones would face the challenges that came after that unforgettable performance. The word stage performance in the phrase Tom Jones faces backlash after controversial stage performance may seem straightforward, but it is a critical part of the story that invites a lot of curiosity and questions. What exactly happened on that stage? How did the event unfold, and what made it such a defining moment in Tom Jones's career? A stage performance is where an artist's talents are put to the test, where they connect with the audience, and where their reputation is either built or broken. Tom Jones had been known for his exceptional ability to entertain and engage with his audience, but on this particular night, things went differently. The way the performance unfolded is crucial to understanding the controversy that followed. It wasn't just any performance, it was a moment that would be remembered for all the wrong reasons. When we think of Tom Jones, we think of his larger-than-life stage presence. His voice, his energy, and his ability to connect with the crowd were all part of his trademark style. He was someone who knew how to make an impression, someone who knew how to captivate a room. So what went wrong this time? Was there something about his stage performance that evening that caused the audience to turn on him? What could have happened in that moment that left the audience feeling disappointed and frustrated? The curiosity surrounding this is what makes the story so compelling. People want to know what went wrong, what Tom did differently, and why the performance ended in such a strong negative reaction. One of the first questions that arises when considering the performance is whether it was an off night for Tom Jones. Everyone has bad days, even the most talented artists. But this wasn't just an ordinary mistake, it was a performance that led to the crowd booing him off the stage. This raises the question of whether it was Tom's fault at all. Was it the environment, the audience's expectations, or was it something Tom did on stage that caused the shift in mood? Was there a particular moment during the performance that caused the crowd to change their opinions so suddenly? The mystery of what happened during the performance keeps the audience guessing. What was it about this night that made it stand out from all the other successful performances in Tom's career? The performance itself becomes a turning point, not just for Tom's career but also for the way people perceived him. Tom Jones had always been known for his charisma and the way he brought a sense of fun to the stage. His performances were often full of energy and excitement, so what changed this time? Was it the music he performed, or did he try something new that didn't connect with the audience? The curiosity around this specific performance lies in trying to understand the reasons behind the crowd's negative reaction. What made the performance controversial? What was it that set this performance apart from all the others? Many performers, when faced with an audience that isn't reacting well, can try to change their approach or adjust their performance. But that wasn't the case for Tom. He was used to winning over a crowd, no matter the situation. So when the audience began to boo, it was a major shock. The idea that someone with such an established reputation could face such a harsh reaction raises more questions. Did Tom try to continue with the performance despite the negative feedback, or did he acknowledge the crowd's discontent? This is a moment that many people wanted to know more about. How did he handle the situation, and what did he do in response to the audience's reaction? The performance itself didn't just end when the show was over, it became a topic of discussion that lasted well beyond that night. Fans, critics, and the media all weighed in on what had happened, and people continued to talk about the performance long after the boos had stopped. Some might have felt that Tom's performance was just a fluke, something that could be chalked up to a bad night. Others, however, began to question whether this was a sign of something more troubling. Was Tom losing his touch? Could this be the beginning of the end for someone who had been at the top of his game for so long? The curiosity surrounding the aftermath of the performance became just as important as the performance itself. How would Tom recover from this? Would he be able to continue performing at the high standard that his fans expected? The way Tom handled the stage that night also raised questions about his approach to performing. He was known for being energetic and engaging, but what if he had failed to meet the expectations of the audience that evening? Did he try to recover from the negative feedback, or did he stay true to his original performance despite the crowd's reaction? This raises the question of how much control an artist has over their performance and how much influence the audience has on the outcome. Tom's stage performances were always marked by his ability to read the crowd and adjust to the mood. So why didn't he do that this time? The curiosity about this moment is driven by the desire to understand what went wrong and what could have been done differently. Another important aspect of the performance is the connection between Tom and his audience. Tom had spent years building a loyal fan base, people who admired him not only for his voice, but also for the way he interacted with the crowd. When things went wrong that night, it wasn't just about the performance, it was about the relationship between the performer and the audience. The boos that echoed through the venue were not just a critique of the music, they were a reflection of how the crowd felt about Tom at that moment. Did the audience feel that he had let them down? Was this performance a sign that Tom had lost touch with what his fans wanted? The connection between artist and audience is crucial to any stage performance, and this night was a reminder of how quickly that connection can break. Tom's stage performances were always memorable, but this one would stand out for all the wrong reasons. For an artist who had spent years perfecting his craft and building his reputation, it must have been difficult to face such a public setback. What went through Tom's mind as he stood on stage, trying to understand the boos that grew louder by the second? Did he feel embarrassed, or did he try to ignore the feedback and continue performing? This moment on stage became a pivotal point in his career. It was no longer just about singing or performing, it was about handling the unexpected and responding to the pressure of the situation. The curiosity around how Tom reacted to the backlash makes this part of the story all the more fascinating. The performance may have ended, but its impact lingered. Fans were left questioning what had happened, critics were analyzing every detail, and Tom was left to deal with the fallout. But this was just one performance in a long career. The curiosity about this stage performance stems from how it changed people's perceptions of Tom Jones and how it affected the rest of his career. Would he be able to move past this moment, or would it define him in the eyes of his fans? This performance became a defining moment, not just because of the boos, but because it showed that even the most accomplished artists can have moments where things don't go as planned. How Tom Jones dealt with this performance on stage, and the aftermath afterward would be a testament to his resilience and his ability to continue performing at a high level despite setbacks. When the word backlash is used in the phrase "Tom Jones faces backlash after controversial stage performance," it brings to mind a powerful reaction that is much more than just disappointment. Backlash is strong, it's loud, and it carries a lot of emotion. It's the kind of reaction that can't be ignored, and it's the kind that often follows a situation where something doesn't meet expectations. In the case of Tom Jones, the backlash didn't just come from a small group of people, it came from the very fans who had supported him for years. This is what makes the term backlash so significant. It's not just about a single bad review or a few negative comments, it's about a widespread reaction that can affect the reputation and future of an artist. The curiosity about the backlash that followed Tom's controversial stage performance is what draws people in. What caused such a strong reaction from his fans? Why did they feel the need to express their frustration so loudly? After all, Tom had been a beloved performer for decades. His voice had captivated millions, and his stage presence was unmatched. So what was it about this one performance that led to such a drastic shift in how the audience felt? The backlash didn't just come from one disappointed fan, it came from a large group of people who were not only unhappy with the performance, but also felt that something important had been lost. But what exactly was lost, and why did it matter so much to the audience? As the boos echoed through the venue, it was clear that the backlash was not just about the performance itself, it was about the expectations people had for Tom Jones, and when those expectations weren't met, the reaction was intense. Fans didn't just want to hear a good song, they wanted to see Tom do what he was known for, delivering an unforgettable experience. When that didn't happen, it felt like a betrayal. The curiosity about why the audience felt so strongly about this performance is central to understanding the backlash. Was it simply because the performance didn't live up to expectations, or was there something deeper going on? The backlash was not just a spontaneous reaction, it was something that had been building over time. Tom Jones had been in the public eye for so long that his fans had come to expect a certain standard from him. They had seen him perform countless times, and each time he delivered. But on this particular night, something was different. The performance didn't match up to the image of Tom Jones that his fans had in their minds. It's possible that people had begun to take Tom's talent for granted, assuming that every show would be just as spectacular as the last. When it wasn't, the backlash was swift and harsh. This is where the curiosity about why people were so disappointed comes into play. Why did this one performance affect them so much? What was it about Tom's reputation that made this moment feel like a significant break in his career? Backlash isn't just about the audience being upset, it's also about how the artist responds to that anger. How did Tom Jones handle the backlash? Did he try to explain himself or offer an apology, or did he ignore the negative feedback and move on with his career? The curiosity surrounding how Tom dealt with the backlash adds another layer to the story. It's one thing for the audience to be disappointed, but how an artist responds can either mend or worsen the situation. Did Tom try to connect with his fans after the performance, or did he dismiss their reaction as something trivial? The way he handled the situation would play a huge role in whether the backlash would die down or continue to follow him for years to come. One of the key elements of any backlash is the impact it has on the reputation of the person involved. For Tom Jones, a backlash of this magnitude wasn't something he could easily shake off. He had spent his entire career building a reputation as one of the most talented and reliable performers in the world. So when things went wrong, it wasn't just about a bad night, it was about questioning whether he could still deliver on his promise to his fans. The question people began to ask was whether this incident would be a turning point in his career. Would Tom be able to recover from the backlash and continue to perform at the level his fans expected, or would this event change the way people saw him forever? The curiosity about the impact of the backlash lies in the long-term effects it had on Tom's career. Would this incident be something that people would remember, or would it fade into the background of his long and successful career? The backlash that followed his controversial performance created uncertainty. For some fans, the incident may have been a sign that Tom was no longer the performer they had once admired. For others, it might have been a simple mistake, something they could overlook. But for Tom, it was more than just an isolated incident. It was a test of his resilience and his ability to connect with his audience, even when things went wrong. How he responded to the backlash would determine whether he could move forward or whether it would be a defining moment in his career. Backlash isn't always about an artist being at fault. Sometimes, it's about the expectations placed on them by their audience. Tom Jones had spent years building a loyal fan base, and that fan base had certain expectations. When those expectations weren't met, the backlash was inevitable. The curiosity about how this backlash affected Tom personally is also a key part of the story. How did he deal with the emotional toll of facing such a public response? It's one thing to face criticism from a few people, but it's another thing to hear the boos from an entire audience. How did Tom handle the pressure of knowing that people were disappointed in him? For the audience, the backlash wasn't just about being disappointed, it was also about feeling let down by someone they had admired for so long. It's easy to think of artists as untouchable, but when they fall short of expectations, the reaction can be intense. Fans feel as though they've invested so much of their time and energy into supporting an artist, and when that artist doesn't deliver, it feels like a personal failure. The backlash that followed Tom Jones's controversial performance was a reflection of the high standards that his fans had set for him, but those high standards also meant that when he didn't meet them, the backlash was bound to be intense. As time passed, the question remained, could Tom Jones recover from this backlash? Would the incident continue to haunt him, or would he find a way to move past it? The curiosity about his ability to bounce back kept people wondering. It wasn't just about his next performance, it was about his long-term place in the music world. Would he be able to regain the trust of his fans, or had the backlash permanently altered their perception of him? The answer to that question lay in how Tom responded to the situation, and how he continued to connect with his audience in the years that followed. The backlash that followed Tom Jones's controversial performance was more than just an isolated event. It was a reminder that even the most successful and beloved artists can face moments of doubt and disappointment. How they handle those moments, and how they respond to their fans, determines whether they can overcome the backlash and continue to thrive. For Tom, the curiosity about how he would handle the situation became an essential part of his journey. Would he rise above it, or would the backlash be something he could never fully escape? The word reputation is a powerful one, especially when it comes to someone like Tom Jones, who had built his career on being a beloved performer with an exceptional voice. A reputation is something that takes years to build but can be tarnished in a single moment. It's the sum of all the experiences people have had with you, the way you've made them feel, and how you've presented yourself to the world. For Tom Jones, his reputation was not just about his talent, it was also about the way he interacted with his fans and the energy he brought to the stage. His fans loved him because they trusted that he would always give his best. But when a controversial performance caused a backlash, it brought his reputation into question. What would this moment mean for someone who had spent years carefully crafting an image of reliability and talent? Would this single performance alter how people saw him forever, or would his reputation remain strong despite the incident? The curiosity surrounding this question is what makes Tom's story so compelling. Tom Jones had spent decades earning the respect and admiration of millions of fans. But now one controversial performance had the potential to change everything. People wondered whether he could bounce back or whether this would be a turning point in his career. The fear of a damaged reputation is something that many public figures face, and Tom was no different. His reputation had been built on consistency, charisma, and a strong work ethic, but the backlash from this performance made people question whether those qualities would be enough to carry him through this difficult time. For Tom, it wasn't just about the performance itself, but about how this moment fit into the larger narrative of his career. What would the public think of him after this incident? Would they still see him as the same talented, charismatic performer they had admired for so many years, or would they view him differently? This is the heart of the curiosity that surrounds Tom's reputation after the controversial performance. His fans had seen him at his best and they had high expectations. But when he didn't meet those expectations, it left one questioning whether his reputation was as solid as they had once believed. Could one mistake be enough to overshadow years of success? The way Tom responded to the backlash played a significant role in whether his reputation would survive. How an artist handles criticism can make all the difference in how they are perceived moving forward. Did Tom take responsibility for the performance, or did he dismiss the backlash as unimportant? Did he address his fans directly, explaining what happened or apologizing for not meeting their expectations? Or did he act as though nothing was wrong, confident that his long-standing reputation would be enough to carry him through? These questions about Tom's response added another layer of curiosity to the story. The way he handled the situation would determine whether his reputation would remain intact or whether it would be permanently damaged. It's also important to consider that a public figure's reputation is not just built on their successes but also on how they handle failure. Tom Jones had spent years building his reputation as someone who could perform night after night without fail. But now, in the wake of the backlash, people were wondering how he would respond to this challenge. A reputation is tested not only when things are going well but also when things go wrong. Would Tom be able to show his resilience, or would this incident be something that defined him in the eyes of his fans? The curiosity around this question is what makes this part of the story so intriguing. People were waiting to see how Tom would handle the situation and whether he could prove that his reputation was more than just a series of great performances. It was also about his ability to recover from setbacks. The way Tom's reputation was impacted by this performance also raises questions about how much control an artist really has over that image. An artist's reputation is influenced by many factors, including their public persona, their behavior, and their interactions with fans. But it's also influenced by things outside of their control, such as the reactions of the audience. No matter how talented an artist is, they can't always predict how an audience will respond. Tom's performance was met with unexpected backlash, and that changed the narrative for a moment. The curiosity about how much of this backlash was due to Tom's actions versus the audience's expectations is what makes this story so fascinating. Was the backlash Tom's fault, or were the expectations placed on him so high that even a small mistake led to a huge reaction? At the same time, the idea of reputation is not just about what others think of you, it's also about how you view yourself. Tom Jones had built a career around the idea that he could always deliver, but after this controversial performance, he had to reckon with the fact that he had let his fans down. How did he feel about his own reputation after the backlash? Did he see this as a learning experience, or did it shake his confidence? The personal side of reputation is just as important as the public side. The curiosity about how Tom dealt with this internal struggle makes this part of the story even more interesting. His reputation wasn't just a matter of how others saw him, it was also a reflection of how he viewed himself as an artist. This moment of uncertainty brought to light how fragile a reputation can be, especially for someone in the public eye. Tom Jones had spent years building a reputation as one of the greatest performers of his time, but one controversial performance had the potential to change how people saw him. Would he be able to recover and continue to build his reputation, or would this incident haunt him for the rest of his career? The idea of reputation is constantly shifting, and for Tom the challenge was to prove that his reputation was built on more than just one performance. It was built on years of hard work and dedication. The curiosity about how he would navigate this challenge kept people watching, waiting to see whether he could continue to uphold the reputation he had worked so hard to build. As time passed, Tom Jones continued to perform and release music, and his reputation slowly began to heal. People eventually moved on from the controversial performance, and many were able to separate the artist they had known from the moment that had caused so much backlash. But the incident still lingered in the background, a reminder that a reputation can change in an instant. Tom's ability to recover from the backlash showed that while a reputation can be fragile, it can also be resilient. His fans, though disappointed, were willing to forgive him and continue supporting him, recognizing that one bad performance didn't erase all the good he had done over the years. In the end, Tom Jones's reputation proved to be more than just a series of successful performances. It was a reflection of his ability to handle challenges, learn from his mistakes, and continue to grow as an artist. The curiosity about how he would recover from this difficult moment only added to the intrigue of his career. Tom's story serves as a reminder that a reputation is not something that can be taken for granted. It takes time to build, but it also takes time to repair when it's damaged. The way Tom handled the aftermath of the controversial performance showed that a true reputation isn't built on perfection, it's built on resilience and the ability to overcome challenges. The story of how Tom Jones faced backlash after his controversial stage performance is more than just a moment in his career. It's a story of resilience, growth, and the way public perception can shift. When an artist is at the height of their career, there is a certain expectation that comes with it. People expect them to perform at their best every single time. And when that doesn't happen, it raises questions. The curiosity surrounding Tom's performance and the aftermath of the backlash stems from this very idea. How could someone so talented, so beloved, face such a strong reaction from his audience? What happened during that performance, and how did it change things for him? This question is what draws people in, the unknowns, the gap between Tom's usual excellence and this unexpected failure. Fans who had supported Tom for years suddenly found themselves questioning whether he could still deliver. One bad performance had the power to make them doubt everything they knew about him. It's hard to imagine how one moment, one misstep could cause so much doubt, but this is the nature of the relationship between an artist and their audience. When an artist fails to meet the high expectations placed upon them, it's more than just a disappointed fan, it's a personal letdown. This is where the curiosity lies. What was it about this performance that triggered such a strong reaction? Was it just a poor performance, or did it represent something deeper, a change in how Tom's career would unfold? After the performance, the backlash was immediate and loud. Fans who had been loyal for years were now expressing their anger and frustration. They were not just upset about the performance itself, they were disappointed because they had come to expect something extraordinary from Tom. They had placed him on a pedestal, and when he didn't deliver, it felt like a betrayal. This deep disappointment sparked the curiosity that surrounds the story. Why did this particular performance have such an impact? What was so different about it that caused his fans to react this way? The backlash wasn't just about a poor show, it was about an emotional connection that was suddenly put to the test. People didn't just want to hear a song, they wanted an experience, and Tom had always delivered. Now when he didn't, it left a void that people struggled to fill. The nature of a public backlash is complex. It's not just about people being upset, it's about how the artist deals with that reaction. In Tom's case, this backlash was not just a one-time thing, it had the potential to change the way people viewed him forever. The question of how Tom would handle the situation was central to the story. Would he ignore the criticism and move on, or would he take the time to understand why his fans were so upset? The curiosity around his response to the backlash added an interesting twist to the situation. The way an artist responds to criticism can define their career moving forward. Would Tom try to connect with his fans, acknowledge their disappointment, and explain what went wrong? Or would he dismiss it, assuming that his long-standing reputation would be enough to weather the storm? How Tom handled the situation became a key factor in whether or not his career could continue smoothly. A public figure's response to a backlash can either mend things or make them worse. If Tom had ignored the backlash, it might have confirmed people's worst fears that he was out of touch, that he didn't care about his audience's opinions. But by addressing the criticism head-on, acknowledging the mistake, and taking steps to ensure it didn't happen again, Tom could have potentially turned the situation around. This is the heart of the curiosity about the aftermath of the performance. How would he respond? What would his fans think of his handling of the situation? The public's reaction to this would be a determining factor in whether he could regain their trust and continue his career on the same path. The aftermath of this backlash also brought into focus the importance of the artist-audience relationship. Fans invest a lot in their favorite performers, they follow them, they support them, and they expect to be entertained. When an artist doesn't meet those expectations, it feels like a personal letdown. This is the challenge Tom faced after the controversial performance. He had built a loyal fan base over the years, and now that trust was shaken. The curiosity here is about the way trust works in the entertainment industry. Fans can be fickle, they can go from loving an artist to feeling disappointed with them in an instant. But the opposite is also true. If an artist takes the time to listen, to understand, and to grow from their mistakes, they can regain that trust. The key question was whether Tom could prove that he was more than just a one-time success. Could he show that he was capable of learning from failure? The idea of trust is central to this story. Tom's fans had trusted him to deliver, and when he didn't, that trust was broken. But trust, like any relationship, can be rebuilt. The curiosity around this question lies in whether Tom could restore the faith his fans had in him. Would they forgive him for the performance and continue to support him, or would they be turned off by what they perceived as a slip in his abilities? The story of Tom's reputation is also a story about the fragility of trust and the power of growth. Fans may forgive an artist for a mistake, but it depends on how the artist handles the situation. If Tom showed humility and took responsibility, there was a chance he could come out of this situation stronger than before. At the core of the curiosity is the question of whether Tom could continue to have a successful career after this incident. The idea of an artist facing a setback and recovering is something that many people find inspiring. It's a reminder that success isn't just about how high you climb, it's also about how you handle the falls. The curiosity about how Tom would bounce back from this difficult moment is what makes this story compelling. Would he be able to prove that he was more than just a string of successful performances? Would his fans give him another chance, or would they move on to other artists who could meet their expectations? The curiosity also extends to the broader question of public image and reputation. How do artists maintain their status over time? What happens when their reputation is challenged, and how do they fight to keep it intact? Tom's story is a reflection of the struggle many artists face as they navigate their careers. The expectation to always be at the top can create immense pressure, and when things go wrong, the fallout can be significant. But the way Tom handled this moment, how he responded to the backlash, and how he continued to perform in the years that followed would ultimately determine the course of his career. In the end, Tom Jones's ability to rise above the controversy and rebuild his relationship with his fans would be the defining factor in whether or not his career could continue as before. The curiosity about how his reputation would evolve after such a challenging moment kept people invested in his journey. Fans wanted to know if he could bounce back, whether he could regain their trust and respect. This story isn't just about one controversial performance, it's about how an artist faces challenges and how they navigate the ups and downs of a long career.